Well, welcome to DDRC members, staff, and guests. Multiple staff members are present to make sure the meeting runs smoothly and all applicants and citizens are able to communicate with the commission at the appropriate time.
I will call the roll. Ms. Branham, Mr. Broom,
Here.
Mr. Greenberg,
Here.
Ms. Jaco,
Here.
Mr. McGuire,
Here.
Mr. Salibi.
Here.
We have quorum.
In order to avoid ex parte communications, DDRC members are under strict instructions not to discuss cases under consideration with the public or with each other outside of the public forum. The meeting typically starts with staff calling the case, giving a summary of the project, and then calling on the applicant to present if they wish. Decisions are typically made in one evening. Decisions may be appealed within 30 days to a court of competent jurisdiction. Oaths will be administered individually as we hear either from applicants or from live speakers. Applicants with requests before the DDRC are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the DDRC or staff regarding the request. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. Applicants may have 5 minutes to respond. Staff has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. Are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
The DDRC uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. If a member of the DDRC or the general public wants to discuss an item on the consent agenda, then the item is removed from that agenda and considered during the meeting. The DDRC then approves the remaining consent agenda items. Will staff please read the consent agenda?
I will read the consent agenda. I understand we have one member who needs to recuse from the consent agenda, so I'll give Mr. Greenberg a moment to step away. The consent agenda reads 1107 Maple Street, a request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in Melrose Heights, Oak Lawn Architectural Conservation District. 1613 to 1615 Ennery Avenue, request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill, Wales Garden Architectural Conservation District. 1718 Hampton Street, request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill for an individual landmark. This is the Chestnut Cottage. 2918 Grace Street, request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in the Cottontown Bellevue Architectural Conservation District. 2226 Senate Street, request for preliminary certification for the Bailey Bill in the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Protection Area. 2006 Gervais Street, request for a certificate of design approval for new construction in the Five Points Design Overlay District. And I did want to note that we received comments for this project, which were passed on to y'all earlier in the week. 2403 Santee Avenue, a request for a certificate of design approval for new construction in the Old Shandon Lower Waverly Protection Area. And last, 200 Mulberry Lane, a request for a certificate of design approval for new construction in the Whaley Street Protection Area.
Is there anyone from the DDRC that would like to remove any item from the consent agenda? Is there anyone from the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda? Okay. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the consent agenda and also the minutes from October?
Motion to accept the consent agenda and October minutes.
Second?
Second.
Ms. Jaco,
Yes.
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Ms. Branham?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Salibi?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, we'll move to the regular agenda. First item.
So the first and only case on the regular agenda this evening is 930 Laurel Street. This is Finley Park. The Finley Park project includes revitalization of the existing park with a number of new features and 3 new buildings. While each of the new buildings meets the financial threshold for DDRC review, the city center design guidelines are geared towards urban development in the downtown street grid and do not address buildings within a park setting. In the past, when we've had an anomaly project that does not fall within the review categories of the Chapter 5 guidelines, we've relied on the principles outlined in the introductory chapter of the City Center Design Guidelines to provide a high-level and broad review of the project as a whole. Those are all in your packet. I'm not going to read through them. Staff does find the proposal for Finley Park and the associated buildings meet the applicable City Center Design Guidelines and recommend approval of the request. We do have several people from the design team here to talk, and Mr. Henry Simons, our Assistant City Manager over Parks and Recreation, is going to introduce the project, and then we'll have some other folks talk about some of the details of the project.
Thank you, Lucinda. Good afternoon to everyone, Madam Chair, and the entire DDRC team. Of course, my name is Henry Simons. I'm the Assistant City Manager of Operations, of course, for the City of Columbia. And we are, of course, here to provide an overview of the design for Finley Park. We are very, very excited about where we are today regarding Finley Park and the people in this room who have worked very hard to get us to this point. We believe that Stantec and the entire design team has done an amazing job in bringing our vision for Finley Park to life. And our goal today is to share what we believe to be the future design of Finley Park, which demonstrates a few things that I want to share. course
Sir,
it is.
hold on, I just want to make sure. Let me swear you in real quick. I think you stated your name.
Yes.
And do you swear to tell the truth in these proceedings?
I'm sorry,
You
sis.
swear to tell the truth in this proceeding?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem.
I'll get chastised later by staff. So
Okay. All right. As I indicated, it enhances the quality of life for our citizens, attracts new business and investors to downtown Columbia as well as the state of South Carolina, fills a connectivity gap within our downtown corridor. We've seen lots of vibrancy on Main Street, our Vista, Bull Street, and other areas of the city. And filling this gap in Finley Park will enhance the connectivity that we haven't seen in over a decade. Also, with the growth of our Vista Greenway, this is just a lot of connectivity to this project, which will make downtown Columbia absolutely amazing. And it provides sustainability. Of course, building it is one thing, but sustainability and maintaining it is another. So our focus in this design was to ensure that we can maintain the work for years to come. We certainly don't want to design a park that we can't maintain in the future seamlessly. Lastly, an increase in recreational engagement. As I indicated, there's so much growth that's going on the Vista, Main Street, Bull Street, and with Finley Park, this is really the last component that really will fill a gap, that our citizens will really enjoy. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to present to you today. I'm going to invite Todd Martin, who is our park planner for Parks and Recreation, to walk us through the current design. Thank you. Todd?
Thank you. So whoever's speaking, when you come up, I'll swear you in, and then you can do your presentation. So hi, please state your name.
Todd Martin.
And do you swear to tell the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Excited to be here. As I go through the design, I want to start in the center of the park, where you see we have an open space event lawn. And the idea is to build this new event space with a stage built into the hillside to project noise away from the adjacent neighborhoods into the center of the city. We also wanted to design the open space and the center event space for programming, to be set up for easy event setup, food truck rallies, and also for different recreational activities, such as roller skating and a walking track in that oval. Want to activate that space. From the oval, we're going to spin off with strolling gardens that really start to link all the elements together, from the destination playground that spills into the hillside, number 13, number 14, the splash pad, the amenity stream that flows along the event line from the pond, and the architecture. And the architecture, the architecture we've designed to be lanterns for the park, with the understanding that lighting, safety is going to be important in this new design. And that theme will carry out throughout the site development too. We'll have a theme to really have a cohesive design and pull everything together. And then the actual features in the buildings, we have restrooms, we have shade shelter, and then we also have on number 10, the building coming in from the Vista, will be a hospitality office. And in that office, we will have rentals for roller skates, remote control sailboats. Again, we're just trying to really activate this part on a consistent level. The new pond will be smaller than it is today. We're filling in a portion of the pond to create that central green space. And the new pond will have more of a naturalized, gently sloping edge to it, with lush native pollinators along the edge. And we'll feed that pond with the iconic spiral that we're all very familiar with at Finley Park. Decided to bring that back. And it'll spill down the existing rapids. We're also going to save the waterfall plank, that the 40-foot falls that fall into the grotto below. We feel that's just as iconic as the spiral itself. And number 7, to the left of the waterfall, or the spiral, is an upper plaza that directly connects to an overlook plaza. We love the space because it has some of the best skyline views of the city. We envision using the space for small events, maybe even weddings up there. But it's also a very crucial piece of the accessible plan because it connects from the upper with a switchback down to the overlook plaza. And from that plaza, you take an elevated cantilever walk behind the existing waterfall, over the rapids, and then you work your way down the hillside along Laurel Street to the green space below. So you provide an experience. It's not just a switchback down the side of the hill to the park. And then number 12, the existing building along Laurel Street, we're going to convert that to our ranger station to have rangers' presence in the park. The visibility is important along Laurel Street. You currently can't see into the park, so we're going to selectively clear trees where we need to open up view corridors into the park. Same thing with the view corridor at the corner of Assembly to a Laurel. As you work your way down that corridor, opening up views there as well. And our idea for that space is to really flood it with art, and we'll work with One Columbia as we implement art in that space. But once you get to the open space below that corridor, you're presented with this. This is the view you have. You see the pond in front of you, the lush landscape adjacent to the pond, some of the architecture, and you have this the old grotto wall, or the old drum wall that's currently the Loffelstein wall. We're going to clad that to become a piece of art with precast concrete panels and this decorative metal above. And then at night, it becomes a lantern for the park, again, tying into what we're doing with our architecture. It all bleeds together, and it's a cohesive statement. So with that, what we have at Finley Park, you're very familiar, it's like a bowl, and we have this panoramic view on the backdrop with the destination play, the stage.
Yeah, apologies for that. So my question relates to the ranger station. In the design phase of the project, was there consideration given to putting the ranger station in a more central location of the park to give a presence of an authority figure around the clock?
The reason it is where it is because of the views you have up there. You really get a good panoramic view of the park because it's elevated. And that was the main reason. I think having the hospitality office at number 10 gives us that ability to be in the park also. And we want the rangers out in the park. We don't want them just sitting up there also. So the cameras we have will be on their phones. We want them engaging in the park also. Is that?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I just want to add to your comment about that. So we were very intentional about the security and safety of the park. So we are adding emergency call boxes with cameras on top of them and cameras throughout the park as well. And there'll be a viewing station or monitors in the ranger station where a ranger will be posted, but we'll have multiple rangers patrolling the park at the same time. So we were very intentional about safety and security in the park as well. So I wanted to add that comment.
No, thank you. Any other questions, commissioners? Yes.
Just one. Are these designs subject to potentially change? Are there areas within the current outline that we could be seeing design changes where you would be before us again in the near future?
I don't believe so. We're currently about 50 to 60% through the design process. So what you see is very accurate.
Sorry, I'll try not to take up too much more time. There were some public comments with regard to natural flora and fauna of the park, pardon me, that are particular to the area. Does any part of the design give rise to, I know it mentioned removing some trees to increase visibility from the public right of way, which is a good thing. Was there any consideration given to increasing the amount of flora and fauna within the park?
Yes, and we have a couple of really great opportunities, especially with the strolling gardens. Those gardens are interconnected organic walking loops that create these different garden rooms of different scales. And those will be just lush with native vegetation. It's a good opportunity to tell that story, to provide education for the public. You have it there. We talked about it around the water features itself. And it's a standard of parks when we do a park to really have a lot of native vegetation in the park.
Great, thank you very much.
All right. I think the commissioners are good at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will now hear any comments from the public.
We just wanted to acknowledge, too, that we did receive 4 written comments that were forwarded to the commission yesterday. So those were from the Columbia Audubon Society, the South Carolina Native Plant Society Midlands Chapter, from Gary Linsky, the rector of St. Peter's Church, and from Trace Ballou, president of Columbia Green. So those were all forwarded to you all yesterday, but we just wanted to get that on the record.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public like to speak? Hi. Come up and please state your name.
I'm Jeff Pate, live at number 10 Governor's Hill.
Okay.
So I live
Right above the park? Yeah.
immediately adjacent to the park at the Gaston Street end.
And do you swear to tell the truth in this proceeding? Do you swear to tell the truth in this proceeding?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. And just make sure you talk into this microphone as loud as you can. Thank you.
Okay, so we're obviously excited to see something happen with the park, and would like to hear how the upper parking lot is being changed. And as you know, the gate at the Gaston end of the street is closed permanently, I hope. And there was a reason for that, because we live there and we experience everything that goes on there, particularly in that upper parking lot. You know, we've witnessed, and my neighbors will testify to this, we've witnessed all the drug deals, all the beatings, all the, you name it, going on, day in, day out, day or night. So we think it's important that access to that parking lot is controlled 24 hours a day. And also, I know it's not the purpose of the people here to talk about what goes on with the homeless there, but these shelters and things like that, we'd like to know a little bit more about the lighting of those and what the hours that these rangers are going to be in the park. And I may have some follow-ups, but I know there's other folks here from Governor's Hill. And again, we appreciate something being done with this park. It's got super potential. And, you know, we feel like it's been left to overgrow all these pine trees and all this stuff. It's not very attractive. And if he'll address also that, the pine trees that are growing all around us. Okay? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Oh, hold on, sir. I think Commissioner has a follow-up question for you.
On the Gadsden Street,
Are the gates permanently closed?
at the Gadsden entrance to that parking lot. And that predated me living here, but some of my neighbors who know the history can tell you, but that had to be done because of what was going on in that parking lot all night long, day in and day out, you know, and, you know, it's important to us as homeowners there that continues to stay closed. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, applicant like to come up and respond, please?
Well, thank you for the comment. And I know working through the design process, some of the designs before this one, we had a parking lot that was one way, and we were going to do away with that. And we heard very strongly from the community at the time that they did not want that. They wanted the parking to stay exactly the way it is. And we made that change, which is reflected in the new designs. So we can keep that gate, we can keep it one way. We understand we don't want the loop continuing because they had a lot of problems with that. So you can rest assured that that will change the way that we had discussed. As far as the rangers in the park and their hours, I believe we're looking right now at 6 to 9. As far as that schedule goes, I mean, that can be fluid, of course, as we get closer to the park opening. And the buildings themselves will be lit, you know, all night. And one thing that I didn't mention about the restrooms is that they're going to be individual restrooms. So we're not going to have one restroom that you can just walk in and you don't know what you're walking into. You have individual doors that can be locked, and they're just single use only, which I think will be a very strong component for those buildings also.
So, and the other comment that was mentioned was about the pine trees on the site. So I'm sure as part of your beautification and landscaping, and you are a vision to clean some of this up?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you have any other comments? Yeah.
I just want to also add, in terms of camera surveillance and security, the monitored cameras will be monitored from our Emergency Operations Center as well, live feed, where our police department and our emergency management team, they're housed. So we'll have on-site monitoring, but we also have remote site monitoring as well, because we are very adamant about people feeling comfortable in our park, feeling safe in our park as well. So I wanted to add that comment as well.
And I had a question. I assume clearly there'll be cameras in the parking lot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'm sure there'll be a law enforcement presence fairly regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Collaboration between park rangers and law enforcement, absolutely. We are very intentional also about the camera surveillance on the Governor's Hill side. We'll make sure that those cameras are not pointing at folks' homes, but we'll capture the parking lot itself. So we're very intentional about that as well.
Thank you. Any other members from the public like to speak? And I hope everybody in the audience was able to hear the responses clear enough? Okay, all right, good. Anybody else? Another gentleman?
Good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm Tom Hunt, and I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you.
And I'm a resident at Governor's Hill also. My question is, what will the city do differently this time with Finley Park so that it doesn't once again fall into disrepair? I'd like to know more about that.
Well, we'll definitely bring the applicant back up for that one.
Also, I'd like to know about the lighting in the parking lot at the top. Thank you.
Thank you.
So obviously, we are, again, very intentional about the current culture in Finley Park. And as we move forward with our planning, our goal is to have constant presence in our park, constant activity, constant activation as well. And again, our partnership between our park rangers, communication, as well as police are going to be essential in creating a culture and atmosphere that our citizens can feel safe. That is our first priority when it comes to this environment. So between activation, between police and park ranger presence, between programming, we feel comfortable that this park will be safe and will be a place that anyone can come and enjoy the experience. So we feel really good about that. And as we proceed, we will make necessary adjustments as we go along, but sustainability and maintenance is absolutely critical. So some of the design work that you see was built in to ensure that we can maintain the park for years to come, because some of the terrain that you see here at the park now is a result of the design that occurred years ago. So we understand what that looks like, what that means. So some of the adjustments we made to the park helps us to maintain the actual terrain a whole lot better than we've done in the past. So that those items were incorporated into the process as well. One being the wall that you see that Todd described earlier. That wall was very difficult to maintain, and there's a lot of, it was hard for our internal staff to elevate to make sure that was kept clean. So with those columns there, that's going to assure that that doesn't happen in the future as an example. So we feel good about the design. We feel good about maintaining. Our goal is to ensure that we're doing things every year in the park to make sure it's maintained, bringing new activities, new products along the way. So that's built into the process as well. Our goal, and our mayor and council have publicly shared this, that our contributions to maintaining the park, our maintenance goal is $2 million a year. That's maintenance and programming as well. So we feel good about that number and where we are, and we'll make adjustments as necessary.
So to add on that, you're saying it has like a budgeted amount annually?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Absolutely. Did you want to add anything, Todd, about the lighting?
There was a question about the parking lot lighting, and the plan is to use Cobra heads that'll focus the light down into the parking lot but won't spread to the surrounding neighborhood for light pollution.
Any other members from the public like to speak? Okay. Commissioners, y'all, anybody, I think nobody asked any follow-ups. I think we're good. All right. With that, I'm going to open up to a motion.
Second.
Ms. Jaco?
Yes?
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Greenberg?
Yes.
Mr. McGuire? And Mr. Salibi? The motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other business on the agenda today?
We don't have any other business except to wish everyone a good Thanksgiving.
That's good. All right, so with that, I'll open up for motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting today.
Do I have a second? Second. All right, thank you. Thank you, everybody.